I think The Witcher 3 is an excellent game, Supremely Bad Guy, but I don't talk about it that much because everyone else on Earth also has that opinion, so it feels like it feels like not much good discourse is going to come out of it. I will say the main lesson that I think people could learn from The Witcher 3, because, like, what made The Witcher 3 special? So, obviously, you have a really well-realized world, a really, like, cool, compelling story. Like, the lore feels great, the arcs are great and all that. But I think all of it orients around, well, Geralt. And the thing that I really like about The Witcher, that I wish was more common, is, please God, even in open world RPG games like The Witcher, try having actual characters. Like, don't do the thing like in Fallout or whatever, or Skyrim, where your character can be anyone, absolutely anyone, any background, any moral alignment, whatever. The thing that made Geralt so, like, honestly, the thing that made The Witcher so cool was Geralt. I think Geralt was the thing that made The Witcher good. Like, there were plenty of other great things, but that was what made me love the game. Over and over again, I would play thinking, I can't wait to... I've never felt this way about a game before. I just can't wait to see Geralt interact with this next big set piece. Isn't it true there were some sexist slash problematic elements about The Witcher that prevented me from picking it up a while back? Um, well, in the first and second game, you can get, like, cards if you've slept with someone, I guess, but it's not really that bad, I don't think. Oh, that's the first one only, sorry. I really don't think The Witcher is problematic. By The Witcher 3, the game is pretty fucking progressive in my opinion, but yeah. Anyway, the thing that made The Witcher 3 and Geralt so compelling is that Geralt is a character, regardless of how you play him. You can play him as more of an asshole, more or less of an interventionist. You can vary his personality in a lot of ways, but all the choices that you make feel a lot more meaningful because they're anchored to a really well-realized character. That's the thing that you're never going to get from even a game as good as Fallout New Vegas. In Fallout New Vegas, if you choose, like, the mean option, it doesn't really have much weight. You're playing as, like a blank character, essentially. A personality created by you. There's no voice acting to go along with it. It's just sort of, it's like, oh, well, this time we chose the evil option. But with Geralt, like, this is a character. This is a person. And when he chooses something mean, it's in line with what he could conceivably choose to do. Even if it's more rude than he would normally be, it is something he could comprehensively do. And I think that gives it a lot more weight, a lot more meaning. Absent TV. Hold on! If you're in chat right now and you disagree with what I just said, then just please log off, okay? I'm correct. You just don't understand. You're just too much of a fucking baby brain to understand, okay? If you don't understand the categorical difference, the meaningful, objective difference between your character in Fallout New Vegas being Courier 6 who did the thing in the Big Valley and Geralt, a voiced protagonist with a wealth of backstory specific to his character, with relationships and meaning and character that is not controlled by you, the player, with all that, like, if you think those are the same, okay? Absent TV, I've played the Losa Room DLC. I played it better than you, okay? I guarantee you, if we were to put you on stream right now and watch you play the Lonesome Road DLC, you would look like a fucking infant. You would look like a hamster spinning a wheel that occasionally drops one of those dipping drinking birds onto a keyboard, okay? You're infantile compared to me, okay? And with this supreme knowledge that I have, I can say with great confidence that there is more emotional meaning to character choices that are being made in relation to an actual developed character instead of a nameless, faceless, voiceless protagonist that exists as a part of your character customization engine. Even if you prefer one to the other, there's definitely a difference. Some of the evil decisions that you can make in a lot of the fucking RPG, like Bethesda-type games, are so meaningless. Like, the big meme one is nuking Megaton in Fallout 3, right? Like, in Fallout 3, like, that shit is so dumb. Like, dude, you can play a good character or a bad character. As a good character, you can do quests to save kittens and help people in the wastes. As a bad character, what if you blew up this town because a guy was like, wouldn't it be fun to blow up this town? Wow, what captivating moral choices you're inviting me to make, you know? That shit would never fly in a fucking Witcher game. At least not in the Witcher games. I guess it could fly in a bad Witcher game, but not in the ones that I played. because Geralt has a pre-existing character. And if Geralt does something bad, it means so much more. Also, having a voiced protagonist means that you can have types of drama that simply would not work in voiceless protagonist games. For example, guys, the love triangle in The Witcher 3. Now, I don't do this waifu bullshit, so you can choose who you want, but can you imagine giving a fuck about any of that if you are just playing as, like, a Bethesda character, like in Skyrim? I have vivid memories of the fact that like Triss lied and like took advantage of you during the memory wipe. The fact that like Yennefer and Geralt had a bond between them that was like broken when they decided to break off the genie's contract. Like, these are not types of drama that would work if all you could do was like stare blankly at a character and hit the option that says, no, I love you. Did romance mean anything in Skyrim? You know you can marry people in Skyrim. Did anyone give a fuck about any of that? No, of course not. You can fit a lot more dialogue into a game without voice acting, though? Well, tell that to The Witcher 3. Pretty sure The Witcher 3 had way more dialogue in it than New Vegas or any of the other Bethesda games. Wrong? Hold on. You're literally wrong. New Vegas broke records for the dialogue. New Vegas came out before Witcher 3. Hold on. Fallout, New Vegas, word count. I literally cannot find any unification of the two metrics that are being used here. God damn it, I don't care anymore. Witcher 3 is good. Blablato, my argument here is not that New Vegas isn't a good game. It's a stellar game. My argument is that there is more weight behind character decisions to actual characters, not to templates that you create to do an RPG. I can't tell you how satisfying it is to play Witcher 3 feeling like I'm just briefly getting to experience a fraction of this guy's long lifespan, you know? For all gameplay and narrative intents and purposes, the Fallout New Vegas character begins their existence when you start the game and ends it when you stop. No, the fucking Lonesome Road DLC does not change that. Adding a DLC where one crazy guy is like, dude, remember when you did this thing that you don't remember doing, is not the same as feeling like you have a character that has a nuanced, rich, and textured backstory. I haven't finished Disco Elysium, Supremely Bad Guy. I wonder how the Dark Souls games would have been like that. Isn't the protagonist in Pathologic 2 closer to a blank slate than a well-defined character? Yes. The Haruspex does have a distinct backstory that is immediately relevant to the events of the game. However, your lines are not voiced. And your position as an outsider to the town does mean that for all intents and purposes, for gameplay purposes at least, it does kind of feel like you're just arriving there for the first time. Obviously, you're not in lore, but, you know. I often wonder how, if Dark Souls could have been improved. If you'd had, like, an actual, real character. Probably not, because that's not really what Dark Souls is about. Dark Souls isn't really about narrative arcs. It's about the lore of the world. Now, for Pathologic, I won't lie, I do wish they had voiced protagonist lines. I know that would have made the game take a lot longer, because you would have had to hear your side of things speak out the line every time. But hearing the Haruspex speak every time, I don't know. Yeah, Divinity Original Sin 2 is a really, really good game. You can either, actually, in Divinity Original Sin 2, you can actually play as a character with a backstory, or you can play as your own character. You can actually, it's really interesting. I've never seen another game do that. You can choose to play as a named character with a set backstory, or you can choose to create your own. Oh, 4 uniques. Oh, 3, not including the Soulstone. Which I think is quite nice. I think that's really cool. I have not read the Witcher books. Do you think New Vegas would be better with voice? The voice doesn't mean anything unless you have a definite character to back it up. Can you imagine how silly it would be otherwise? Imagine playing New Vegas and, like, the voice actor is given direction. And they're like, okay, so you have to voice all these lines. Like, okay, this line would be like if you're evil, and this line would be like if you're good. And then you're, like, playing the game, and you choose the good option, and you're like, oh, here, I've saved your cat. Here, have your cat, lad. And then you choose, like, the kind of dickish option when they ask you. Then they're like, hey, here, accept this reward. And the nice answer is, no, I don't want a reward. But the answer you choose is, yeah, can you give me a little more than that? And then that's marked as an evil line. So they're like, okay, here's how you're going to voice act that. And it's like, ha! you're gonna need to pay up more than that, kid. And, like, yeah. It's, you know what I mean? Like, that would be kind of jarring.
What do you need?
That would be kind of fucking jarring. I think Fallout 4 disproves this theory. No, it proves it, because Fallout 4 sucked. Fallout 4 was jarring as shit. The voice acting meant nothing, because, like, you're railroaded down the same fucking plot anyway, and you had no variance in what you could say, except for having, like, cunty dialogue or non-cunty dialogue. And it all felt really dumb, and you had no way of knowing what you were saying. It was yes or sarcastic yes, and then it's like, you choose the mean option, and you're like, VA, like, fucking has an aneurysm and forgets all their acting lessons, and they talk in a different way or something. There's so much weirdness to it, you know? Had the best combat, though? Yeah, sure, but I feel like you just don't like sandbox games. No, I just think that sandbox games are constructed lazily. That a lot of developers are like, well, our players are fucking morons. All we have to do is create a crafting system, some open-world survival elements, and maybe make it so there are crafting materials that drop sometimes from epic rare loot enemies, and that's all they need. We don't need to invest in any kind of cool or engaging, like, meaningful story or pathos or character action. They'll be motivated exclusively by the numbers that go up when they equip these items. And because you all are literal fucking monkeys, you prove them correct, and you play those games and you rate them 9 out of 10, and you play them even though there are no moments from those games that you remember, even though there's nothing about them that stands out to you in your memory, even though there are no characters you particularly care for, or like compelling drama moments that like you really fucking land with. Vaush, you're playing Diablo. I know what I am. I gaze into the abyss. And I acknowledge it. I'm not afraid of what it says about me. Though to be fair, to balance that out, while that is absolutely the case that haha numbers go up is the primary driving force behind playing Diablo, there is one critical difference here, and that's this game is not an RPG. It's an action RPG. There is no pretense in this game of trying to develop a unique character that interacts with people and has cool story moments. That is not a thing Diablo promises you. It doesn't happen. They don't even try. The fact that they don't even try is, to me, better than them making a half-hearted effort so that people can soy face all over it in the gaming forums. I've been addicted to Hades because of you. Hades is a great example, right? Like, Hades mechanically feels great to play, but that's not what you remember about Hades, is it? When you think of Hades, the experience, the memory, do you think of, like, oh, I remember the one time I got the sword, and I got the crit, and I got, like, 3 epic boons in a row, and my crits did this much damage? No, you remember the voice acting. And, God, imagine playing that game as, like, a Fallout New Vegas protagonist, you know? imagine, like, you don't have any voice lines, you know? Like, fucking Hades admonishes you, and you have, like, the text options, and it's like, say something mean, or don't. Call him dad. You know, there's some shit like that. There's value in just letting stories play out with the personalities that have been crafted by professional writers rather than personalities constructed by an idiot player throwing darts at a board. Because that's really what it is. Not to mention, like, do you even roleplay in those fucking games? Like, when you're playing a Bethesda game, do you really roleplay? Like, be real, though. Because I'm pretty sure most people will betray the roleplaying if it means a mathematical advantage. Like, people will do something dickish if it's like, oh, this is the only way to get this cool piece of gear. I think that's the more common way of playing. I do, but only after a first playthrough. That, to me, is valid, yeah. But I think a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll find the most fun way of playing the game, whatever gives them the gear, the loot, the whatever they're looking for, and then they'll post hoc justify a character around it, you know? They'll be like, okay, after doing some fiddling, my character likes guns because the guns are very effective. You know? My character likes guns and is nice, but then you'll be mean the 1 or 2 times that it's, like, clearly a benefit to the... You know what I mean? You get what I mean. I'm right. All of you are wrong. I think a lot of people play that way. But you can't play that way in Hades, because there's already a fucking character there. Thank God. Praise the Lord. Yes, ludonarrative dissonance. Did you 100% Hades? Yes. I got all the achievements in Hades. I haven't gotten up to the 32 heat trophy. I don't even know what's behind it. Just the 16 heat trophy. I've noticed this in some Telltale games where they'll accept the sacrifice for the best endings. Like in Telltale Batman, Batman's supposed to be slowly descending into madness and becoming more violent and aggressive throughout. But you can just choose to not torture anyone and people will still treat you like you've taken it too far. Yeah, honestly, in a lot of these games, I think it'd be better if they just didn't even let you make any moral choices. Like, why? What's wrong with just playing a video game where you take over during, like, the gameplay parts, but for the story decisions, for the most part, like, the real handling is being done by the character that you're playing as? I would hate that? Yeah, because you're a fucking troglodyte. Because you don't actually know what good writing or character development is, because you've never consumed any media other than video games, where the closest thing that you get to character development is the princess being saved at the end. So to you, the idea of professional writers being able to handle a character arc is, like, morally abhorrent. You think that all character arcs should actually be determined by the throwing a dart against the wall process of video game players hastily scrolling through unvoiced dialogue options in response to fucking algorithmically generated quests that are assembled to you by a collection of NPCs who between them have enough personality to maybe make one dog. But then it's not an RPG? Good, fuck RPGs. There are too many of them. Unironically, every game has RPG elements. Fuck them. Hey, why do people remember the God of War 2018 story so much? Is it because every time fucking... what's his name? Atreides? What's the name of your kid? Atreus, thank you. Atreus, yeah. Imagine playing fucking God of War, but every time boy does anything, instead of Kratos responding, there's like a little prompt that pops up where you can deliver an unvoiced response to it that he delivers one of like 6 pre-canned dialogue lines to. Like, you have like 3 options. You can be like, cut it out, boy, or like, be careful, or like, that was a good shot, but next time will be better. But it doesn't get voiced. It's just like the dialogue, and then Atreus will go like, okay, yep, alright, sorry. And you just hear that like 16... This is... all video games should be like this. I agree completely. Thank you, chat. Thank you for the fucking nightmare world you're boxing us into. I don't even know what I'm arguing anymore. Are you saying it's oversaturated or bad in general? I'm saying that developers shouldn't do it unless they're willing to commit to it. Bethesda has never been willing to commit to it, okay? Bethesda has never produced an RPG of their games that actually allowed you to make meaningful choices that change the world. It's just there are different factions and you can choose which flag is being hung outside the fucking which cities in the future, okay? Okay, you're right. I'm talking mad shit right now. I haven't played Morrowind. Fallout New Vegas, holy shit, dude. Absent TV! How can you be... Absent TV! How could you be a Fallout New Vegas stan and not know that I'm saying Bethesda? Bethesda didn't develop Fallout New Vegas. Obsidian did. How are you gonna sit here acting like the fucking legionary of the game and then get ass-pained? Yes, Fallout New Vegas has by far more decision-making that meaningfully impacts the world. I said Bethesda, Absent TV. It's true, I haven't played Morrowind. Maybe I will one day. Also, keep in mind that the decisions that you could make with Fallout New Vegas always had to be big ones. That's another thing. When you have a voiceless, faceless, nameless, whatever, I guess they're not technically faceless, but you know what I mean. When you have, like, a blank slate character in games like that, the choices that you make are always ones about the world, not about yourself. Choices about yourself are always functionally meaningless outside of, like, which shops will let you in because of your moral rating with them. You know, everyone liked that kind of thing. It never really goes beyond that. It can't go beyond that because you don't really have a character. In order to relate to the moral growth of a character, you have to have, if not voice acting, at least some way of, like, registering their emotional development. But that's not something Fallout New Vegas can ever let you do. The point of moral choices in Undertale and Disco Elysium can determine your own character. Disco Elysium is voiced, and Disco Elysium is an example of an RPG that actually commits to it. You have a character with a real character with voice and pathos and reactions and emotion, and that person reacts to the choices you make, but it wasn't always voiced. Well, the thing is, even if it's not... well, it's voiced now. Even if it's not always voiced, that game conveys the emotion of its characters significantly enough that I don't honestly think it needs it. Seriously, like, that game is dripping with personality. You know? The voice helps, but yeah, I mean, it's spectacularly written, there are real characters, real development, blah, 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 blah. I didn't finish the Outer Worlds. Found it boring. Interesting, Mr. Bill. Well, Fallout 4 apparently has more dialogue than Fallout New Vegas, but I don't think anyone's going to go around arguing that makes it a better written game. What about Red Dead? Haven't played it. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to get at is that Disco Elysium actually committed to the whole RPG thing, which is what makes it good. In a way that you could never get from these, like, pseudo-RPGs, you know? These mechanical RPGs. Like Bethesda or Fallout New Vegas or whatever. And all the big, like, fucking decisions that you make in those games are about the world, not about yourself. There's real meaning to, like, personal decisions made in Disco Elysium because you're being fed so much emotional, like, meaning from the character that you're playing. But if you do something evil, even in Fallout New Vegas, what happens afterward? Nothing. You guys know that, right? It's nothing. You can just, like, walk up to a settlement, pull out a gun, shoot some civvies, take a reputation hit, and it's like, oh, and then you can just play the rest of the game like that never happened. Whatever, I'm right. Fuck the haters. Red Dead? I haven't played Red Dead!